Michael, do you want to just give a brief how that TIF works? So they know if there is. Well, when the city set up the TIF district 14 years ago, the reason why they did it was to incentivize private investment within the specific area of the TIF. That was the primary reasons for setting it up, to get rid of properties that are in poor condition, consolidate, and redevelop into new private investment. They had done that to some degree and to some success in various parts of the TIF, the new shopping center and so forth. Those were the things that the city fathers then were trying to induce to happen along the Route 3 corridor. It just so happens that in this case, it would do a similar thing. It would take a piece of property that is clearly blighted, it's an obsolete piece of property, structure and so forth, and it's got some development challenges from a physical standpoint, because if you're going to develop a property of this size and have exposure to the highway, they're going to have to push the building back because of utilities and so forth, and the parking lot be in the front, but if you push the building back, if you know the site, it drops off, so they're going to have to build it up. What the city needs to look at, the city leadership, is are we going to accomplish some of the objectives in the TIF plan? And this project would, in fact, probably do that. It would get rid of some blighted properties and bring in some new private investment. They do have the authority and the right to ask lots of questions about how this new business might affect some other businesses in the community. That's a legitimate concern, and that needs to be investigated. And they may need to get some expert input from a hotel market analyst to be able to say, yeah, you could accommodate both businesses over a certain period of time and so forth. But at the end of the day, the city is not incentivizing a business, or should not, and I would advise them that they not incentivize it to the degree that it would create an unfair advantage for one business over another. And that's usually an issue when we're in the area of retail when it comes into TIF. If you bring in a new restaurant, are we going to wipe out another restaurant or so forth, or can we accommodate the new business that comes into town? You have that same question here. And the way I would look at it is, what does it take to make this site developable for the hotel? And in this case, you do have some extraordinary costs. You have that existing building that's there that needs to come down, foundation removed, and then you also have site grading or having to bring earth in and building retaining walls and so forth. So it's those types of costs that I would suggest to consider if they are going to pursue this redevelopment agreement, that those are the kinds of costs that TIF would reimburse. TIF will not reimburse the cost of building the private building. It won't reimburse the developer for paving the parking lot or putting lights or sidewalks on the site. It doesn't pay for any of that. That's not TIF eligible. What TIF would be doing is sort of equalizing the playing field and taking this site from its current condition and making it more like a greenfield site. It is possible that this particular hotel developer might be able to find a site elsewhere in the community and not have to use TIF, and that would be fine as well. But did we accomplish reinvestment in the TIF district that was set up 14 years ago? And again, that's why it was set up. From what I understand, the city leaders back then wanted to induce private investment in that specific geographic boundary. And I've heard discussion about downtown. There was nothing that would prohibit the city to do the same type of thing for downtown. It just hasn't been done as of this time. But in a nutshell, the TIF is designed to induce private investment. It's not real easy decisions all the time. You have a situation here where you're bringing in one business that could impact another. You've got to be careful in measuring the pros and cons of doing that.
You know, and I agree with you completely about everything you said. If they was bringing a hotel in that was going to run from $40 to $60 a night, I would be totally against using TIF money for it. The Reed stated that theirs runs anywhere from $70 to $80 a night. They're bringing one in from $80 to $100 a night. It's going to be more expensive than the Reed Hotel. Competition, if I was coming to town, I would stay in the Marine Hotel. It's cheaper. I mean, if you're driving through and need a night, it's just a place to stay. I mean,
And again, that's why the city fathers or the city leaders may want to get some expert input on something like this. There is research that suggests that hotels like car dealerships like to co-locate. And it's usually a different model versus a different kind of model, and they're differentiated by quality level, price ranges, and price points. And it's conceivable, again, we looked at the basic Smith Travel research data, and there is demand out there that potentially could be captured into Chester. I can't tell you with authority that would take place, but there is the volume out there, along with some potential new business that you could support both hotels. I just can't give you an authoritative answer on that. But I can tell you about TIF and how it works and what it's designed to do. And in this case, it would take care of a piece of blighted property. The question is, should it be this hotel?
If I could set the record straight on the TIF, we tried for a year or more to secure financing. It was very difficult to secure. I think it was Ed Crow that brought up the idea of possibly using TIF funding, since that did meet the criteria. It was decaying infrastructure, a very old trailer park, and there was extensive dirt work to do. We presented that to the city, and it was a definitive no at that time.
Now, there's not a corridor off this existing TIF that we can use to come back into town. Am I wrong on that?
There's nothing there, no. You have to have, in order, if you would take any money out of that TIF area, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but if you take any money out of that TIF, you have to have some type of connection to that TIF to the other one in order to transfer.
They have to adjoin each other.
Right.
There's not a corridor?
I can't tell you, without investigating whether or not you could have an area of contiguous property between the existing TIF and downtown that would qualify. And I can tell you, though, that the rules for qualifying an area for TIF have gotten much tougher since your TIF was set up. But if the opportunity was there to include downtown in the TIF district and we could touch this one, I would suggest that you do that. But I can't tell you for sure that we could.
Mike, I think, one other thing, I think, for 7 years of life yet, I'm thinking there's 8 or 9 years.
Well,
Yeah, I think it was 97, 23.
you also have to take into account the cycle of construction, assessment, and collection of taxes. You could have, from the date of construction to the time you actually collect real estate taxes, could be 3 years. So oftentimes you lose 3 years up front end.
I'd like to comment to the gentleman back there when I asked about the jobs, if Microtel has their own crews come in. I wanted to make sure if they had, that they used our people. And the way you talked, it was sounding like you thought I wanted them to bring in crews from other places. But I wanted to use local people.
I was commenting to Mr. Strong's point that they had a general contractor that could build these in the dark. That's where that's where I was commenting. There is people around here, there's a guy sitting in the audience that could tear the building down, I'm sure. He likes tearing down things. But I mean, there's heating contractors here, there's flooring contractors in town, there's carpet contractors in town, there's excavators, and these are people that's got 3 and 4 generations of families living in town. You could build the whole thing. There's a plumber in town. You could do the whole thing. You wouldn't even have to leave. You wouldn't have to leave the city of Chester.
That's what, when they said that it was jobs, construction jobs, I wanted to make sure they were local people getting those construction jobs.
Roger, I'd like to comment, the original meeting that we had. We talked about the TIF and the existing remainder of what was left into the TIF.
Correct.
And you said if it wasn't more than the 8 years, this project wouldn't be feasible for you?
Right, and what we did then, I believe you had to leave early.
Yes.
We went out to the site, and in talking to Joe, and there was somebody else, I don't remember who else was out there, we don't think that there's going to have to be as much dirt work done as what we had initially anticipated, which lowers that TIF threshold dollar down, so we can do it. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it.
And then going back to Mike's comment about, you know, being lower and all that, where does the sewer, I mean, there's a sewer line that runs in there?
There's a sewer line there. It's about, I think, between 14 and 16 feet, so there was plenty of clearance.
You talk to our people about that?
Yes.
And I think there was another issue you brought up with Rainbow Drive and the road that come in on
Again,
Chrysler.
after taking a look at the site, no issues.
Any other questions?
They plan on building this with just the TIF advantage and no other advantages, like the city putting sidewalks in and water lines in and sewer lines in and that type of thing?
Well, the sewer line, they're all trying to just tap into it.
Well, that's my question. You're not going to expect the city to tap in, are you?
No.
Okay. That's all I'm asking. I'm
No,
trying to
no.
find out if that's our total cost.
Oh, no.
It's just the TIF.
Okay, is that it?
Best Western has a totally different take on the Smith Travel Research data. Perhaps we can find independent companies to analyze that for us, I'm not sure. I don't think Smith Travel Research itself makes recommendations with their data. It's the analyst that reads it, so. We have definite two-way different outlooks on that data right now.
Just understand something. You're saying no, $48,000 a year to the schools. The money to the city, the improvement of the property, $17 million of investment for protectionism,
I'm saying it's not feasible.
isolationism.
I'm saying it's not feasible, the way I'm seeing
Well,
it.
that's your opinion.
That's my Best Western Revenue Management's opinion.
Well, it conflicts with the information we have.
You guys trying to sell you a franchise, so I'm not surprised.
Well, I'm just saying,
I'd call it fair treatment, though, not protectionism.
that's your opinion too. You know, $48,000. How much to the city, John?
21.
21,000 a year to the city. After TIF, $48,000 to the school every year.
How much money is the school board going to lose when Best Western's closed down and lying vacant? And nobody's paying property taxes on that property after that?
Lying vacant? I don't think they're gonna lie vacant.
You guys weren't interested in buying it?
No.
So?
It's 18 years old. There's so many
So
different things.
after you put them out of business, who's going to buy that vacant hotel then? That's a lot of money the school district's going to be losing there, so we're going to be getting $48,000 from you potentially, which I don't think is going to happen because I don't agree with your numbers, but we're going to be losing all that money from their property.
That's a guarantee that he's gonna go under.
Yes, in my opinion.
Well,
Been doing it 17 years, so.
James, if you all are so sure that your research is correct, why not just go ahead and build it without the TIF funds and there'd be no discussion?
Don, there's gonna be a hotel on that property. Period.
Well, then that's up to you if you
Yeah,
want to do that.
it is. So I mean, do you want Super 8 at $19.99 a night?
You make money at that. You want to get us.
If that's the way you can make money, I'm sure there's some people like to save money. There's probably a market for that.
I think there'd be a market.
There's no tip money. Do that on your own.
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a hotel one way or another. You want a nice one?